Hello, this is Jair,
I'm Aidan.
I'm Aleeza.
And I'm Kyla.
and we're plants and civilization students who are interested in the peyote cactus in its general form and its renowned psychedelic effects and interaction with its surroundings and animals and with humans. So, peyote cactuses are well known for their abundance and variety of alkaloid compounds, which is responsible for making people hallucinate in a good way, like going on a high. However, the term peyote cactus is used widely to describe cactuses with similar effects by the indigenous tribes, rather than the proper scientific classification of its name. In this research article by Brune, the only two known classified peyote cactuses were used to compare their composition and the presence of mescaline, the alkaloid responsible for inducing hallucinations. Surprisingly, they both had the same composition, but their concentrations in mescaline differed greatly when it was run under a gas chromatography.
So is this what makes peyotes different from one another?
Well, yes. Depending on their composition, one may do nothing at all, while the other may have a healing property. But this is only when we take into account the general idea that the indigenous people had established the term peyote from. In reality, the two only classified peyote cactuses both induce hallucinations at different degrees. But outside of it, two closely related peyotes, they induce other effects. It's then compared with other previous experiments with cactuses that were coined as peyotes, that they hold a degree of alkaloids, but did not hold the same hallucinogenic effects as the last two. So it's concluded that any cactus termed a peyote did not hold a psychedelic effect compared to others. And as interesting as it is, it doesn't state exactly how this property does anything good for it when interacting in its ecosystem.
Well, how does the peyote interact with animals? Does its alkaloid contents affect the species around it?
Yes, so there was actually a study of two fly species and their interactions with the peyote cacti. It showed that the toxic nature of the alkaloid contents reduced their performance. In short, larvae of both species were raised in an artificial media that contained increasing contents of both alkaloid and non-alkaloid extracts from a specific cacti that they interacted with. A novel host with similar toxicity was also created with another cactus to test whether the performance differences were due to specificity of alkaloids or other factors.
So could coming in contact with the peyote damage species at any level?
Yes, so actually, statistical analysis revealed a significant negative relationship between alkaloid dose and performance only in one of the flies. However, these relationships with the artificial host were suggested to be context dependent, as flies may rely on more than just alkaloid tolerance for successful development. The rotting cactus itself actually provides nutrients and moisture in arid environments. So while the toxicity of alkaloids is an important deterrent for sustaining the host plant, it has been adapted by the flies to use the cacti as breeding and feeding sites. The alkaloids also reduce competition or predation from other organisms that cannot tolerate it. So over time, this physiological tolerance helped them evolve to exploit the peyote cacti for resources which may be difficult for other organisms to utilize.
Wow, so rather than being deterred by the plant, the flies actually use these properties for their benefit.
Just like the peyote's alkaloid content determines its interactions with insects and other animals, these same compounds can also influence human uses of the plant. For example, peyote was used by various indigenous tribes and continues to be used by members of the Native American Church for religious and healing ceremonies, similar to psychedelic therapy sessions. These ceremonies rely on the hallucinogenic effects of peyote, which is ingested in the form of powder or tea. The goal of these ceremonies and group rituals are to treat things like trauma and addiction and to encourage mental healing.
Does the peyote have any other uses for humans?
Yes, peyote has also historically been used for medicinal purposes, like to treat burns, wounds, fever, and even things like relieving childbirth pain. Modern studies also suggest that mescaline may help with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and addiction recovery. Many of these studies focus on the main alkaloid of the peyote, mescaline, but the cactus has various other alkaloids that either enhance the effects of mescaline or induce completely separate effects, like hordenine and pelletine. The concentrations of alkaloids between plants varies depending on climate, light availability, soil conditions, and time of harvest. Peyotes with higher hordenine content have effects similar to neurotransmitters like dopamine and adrenaline, meaning they cause increased heart and respiratory rates. Pelotine is the most common alkaloid of the peyote after mescaline, and it has been shown to have strong sleep-inducing effects. The continued use of peyote and its increasing popularity has caused more harvesting of the plant, leading to the decrease of its natural population and overall smaller size of peyotes. This raises some environmental concerns for the plant, as it is becoming increasingly rare to find it in the wild due to its slow growth and high demand. So while the alkaloid content of peyotes can provide an advantage for its survival by deterring predators and providing a chemical barrier, human use of the plant for these very properties is actually putting it in danger due to overharvesting.
It's upsetting that the peyote is being overharvested. I hope that there are efforts to replenish or protect the regeneration of peyote so we don't risk losing this plant. The alkaloid components work as a natural defense, except against the flies that build tolerance to its contents, allowing them to use the plant as shelter. And while other animals would be deterred from the peyote, its alkaloid contents could address various conditions and benefit a lot of people. I look forward to seeing how we can apply its properties and further treat things in the future.